What's going on, Jeromes? Your Minnesota Fighting Vikings are headed into year 3 of the Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah regime, replacing GM Rick Spielman and head coach Mike Zimmer. Now, it has been a change in the culture as there's a lot more feel-good vibes. Yeah, this might be all that you get. Also, people saying hi to Brian O'Neill in the hallway, which is fantastic. But Kwesi, Kevin O'Connell clearly have gotten along, and they clearly are a package deal. Let me tell you about my best friend. Now, does your GM and head coach need to be best friends for this to work? No, but also it's good that they talk, unlike their predecessors. What a dysfunctional place, man. Anyways, but the Vikings, during Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell's tenure, they've made some big-time decisions, moving on from Kirk Cousins, letting him go to Hotlanta for all of the cash, as well as drafting future franchise quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, as well as Diamond Dallas Turner replacing Danielle Hunter, longtime Viking on the edge. So, I mean, the franchise has definitely turned the page. Also, most importantly of the offseason, securing Justin Jefferson, long-term deal, no muss, no fuss. Like, you see all the mess right now with the Brandon Ayuk situation, and you're just like, I'm glad that we got JJ. I'm glad that our franchise values Justin Jefferson as well. It's good times, man. Also, they inked up Christian Darrisaw on a deal that will be very team-friendly here in a couple of seasons. But with all of that, you're thinking, okay, maybe Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell have earned extensions so they can see this thing through with J.J. McCarthy and Justin friggin' Jefferson. But not this offseason. Kevin Seifert, ESPN, who is not Carl Gerbschmidt. Mark Wilf, owner of the Vikings, says the Vikings haven't and won't have conversations about contract extensions with general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah or coach Kevin O'Connell before the end of the season. Both are entering year 3 of 4-year deals. Wilf said he would not proclaim any litmus test in public for potential contract extensions, but said ownership's goals to win divisions and ultimately compete for championships has not changed. And this year coming in with lowered expectations, I think that's really more media driven, where they're like, oh, they lost Kirk and they lost Daniil, and now they got Sam Darnold, a bunch of rookies. So 6.5 wins. Nah, I don't know if that is going to cut it. Now, generally, you don't go into lame duck years with a GM or head coach. It's just because, like, if the future of those two spots are up in the air, and then players don't really react. It's like, why do I have to listen to you? You might be gone next year, and I have a 4-year deal or something like that. But basically what it comes down to is like, okay, we like the direction that this team is headed, but also we want to make sure that the moves that you made, moving on from Kurt to bringing in J.J. McCarthy, moving on from Daniil, bringing in Diamond Dallas Turner, extending Jefferson, extending Darrisaw, all that other stuff. We need to make sure that they're the right moves. Now, on the surface, they absolutely look correct, and I absolutely love them, man. But I understand what the Wilfs are doing because, a lot like players, generally you don't get extended with multiple years remaining unless, Coach GM wins the Super Bowl or something, and then it's just like rewarded and baked in. But like Seifert pointed out, they are in year 3 of their 4-year deals, and next off season would be them heading to the final year of their deal. And like we said, players, GMs, coaches, a lot like players, generally don't extend with multiple years remaining. And also, I understand where the Wolves are coming from because they got burned by the Zimmer and the Spielman situation, right? So 2020, both of them were lame ducks, and then they had multi-year extensions. Zimmer for 3 years, Spielman for multi-years, and then 1 year into their extensions, they fired him. Now, it costs a lot. When you move on from a completely to a completely new regime, you got to pay out the head coach's contract. You got to pay out the GM's contract. Sometimes some scouts go with the GM. Got to pay that out. The assistants for the head coach, got to pay them out as well. And then you got to pay the new head coach and the new GM, the new coaching staff, the new scouts. So it's a mess. And I understand, like the Wolves, they want to protect themselves. And again, I understand it, but I do think that Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi have done a phenomenal job, but hey, it's all right. It's a results-driven league, and if the Vikings somehow, some way ended up 3-14, probably no extensions in the offing. But I do think that the Vikings, they don't necessarily have to win the division or even have a winning record for them to be extended. I think that they have to show signs of progress because, I mean, they have certainly come a long way from where things were. 13-4 in 2022, won the division. Now you could say, those were Spielman's guys. All right, they still had to win the games. And I feel like O'Connell coached them slightly differently than Zimmer. Happens, man. They moved on from Kirk Cousins, which was a big deal. Even though I wonder if ownership was on board. I mean, they had to be, right? No. The drafted quarterback and edge of the future transitioned from one of the oldest teams in the league, a veteran laden, to one of the youngest teams in the league. Great potential moving forward because he got stars or future stars at premier positions, all just scratching their prime. Also extending Jefferson and Darrisaw, like we said. They learned from the 2022 draft class. Yeah. And also they cleared up cap issues. The Vikings were pretty snug against the cap at the end of the Spielman regime. A lot of veteran contracts, but I mean that just sort of happens in the life cycle of a team. But the Vikings now, even with the Jefferson and Darrisaw extensions, have $53.7 million in cap space in 2025, and also could have more, depending on some of these veteran contracts like Brian O'Neill and company. But overall, like I do think that if they would extend them, I wouldn't have been mad, and frankly, I would have advocated for it because you don't want to just axe them, chop them off at the knees. Like once McCarthy's getting going, once Turner's getting going, like you want them to see it through. But I understand it. Like the business is a business, and they're just protecting themselves from if this thing goes sideways. Having to pay out multi-year extensions on multiple guys and coaches and GMs and scouts and all that stuff. So again, I do understand, but I don't know. But it's all right. Just go prove it. Just go win the division. Go 11-6, picking up sticks and shocking the world. And I don't know, maybe JJ McCarthy gets in there. The whole JJ to JJ connection is in there. Brian Flores and that defense is top 10, and they ain't 10 or 9 or 8. And just bring that heat. So go prove it on the field. Go prove it on the pitch, and get after things, man. But your thoughts are thoughts. As I burp. No extensions for Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell this season. Vikings ownership will revisit things next off season. Let us know your thoughts, our thoughts, comment section. You guys are the best you know what to do. Skull Production Value.